the baseline, which is given the pseudo theological motivation that motives that underwrite the Mullah regime and subsequent very little elasticity, meaning change of behavior because they frame all their gain position gain or loss metaphysically. It's not like fighting the Soviet Union where you can hold Moscow hostage and all that other stuff. They're never the probability of them ever giving up their pursuit of nuclear weapons or WMDs in general or aggression towards Israel and their neighbors is very low. So what about giving why would they give up the 60% uranium? Well, because of the operational impact of revolutionary technologies and subsequent alternative means to provide or to obtain fissile material or alternative WMDs. Just when it comes to fissile material. So yeah, we hit Fordow, Isfahan, Natanz. Donald did the right thing. Very much disrupted the Mullah regime's traditional approach towards enriching uranium. Tragically, that's not the only means that is available to the Mullah regime to obtain enriched uranium. Whether it's getting turnkey systems from Pakistan, from the Chinese Communist Party, from Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state, or leveraging things like SILIX, which is laser based enrichment. Again, it fits in a garage. It requires very little electricity. It has no UF6 outgassing. I mean, it's very hard to detect. What does it mean? It means even given up the 60% uranium, given the elasticity of the Mullah regime's intent to obtain fissile material, their ability to get to leverage alternative means and get what they need, in other words, their breakout capability like that is rapidly growing. Or maybe they go after alternative WMDs, like, their profile is different. They go after bioweapons, which is real easy to do. The point is the Mullah regime has to go. Witkoff's view of things, at least from my people, the people I know in the administration, different people have different ideas on how to best approach the world. Witkoff is a billionaire businessman, so he sees things as the way a businessman would, right? Economic interdependence, and we could do a deal. This is not a person, these, like the mullahs aren't people you can do a deal with where they're going to hold true to it. And Donald knows that, which is why Armin and a couple other people, Richard, had mentioned what President Trump thinks about dealing with actors that you can't trust, right? You never want to seem desperate to have a deal, and you always deal from strength and use leverage. You always try to keep the opposition.
Jeffrey, if they were to make that deal, do you think that the end result of it would simply be that more time is bought, like the timeline just gets stretched a little bit?
Nope. The only thing that the Mueller regime is probably trying to do is buy whatever little time they can to try and cross the asymmetric deterrence threshold. I don't know what happened. I'm sorry I'm coughing so much. Like agita, defined as nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles, and become kind of like the North Korea of the Middle East, as Armin had said,
I don't think
or
that
as say
President Trump
Mark
is gonna
Levine
be
said.
happy with that. I don't think he's gonna go for that personally.
Yeah, I mean he isn't because and Donald's not a dumb guy. Like
No.
he understands who they are.
Right. That concludes my questions. Thank you guys, and Javid Shah, everybody.
I
Javid Shah,
think
thank you.
Aaron wanted to add something really quickly
Aaron.
because it's been 10 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. So I just kind of wanted to add on to that, to a point that was brought up earlier, power dynamics. A nuclear Iran in the Middle East means they are the dominant force in the region. They are a resourceful country. They are not North Korea. In North Korea, they have nuclear arms, but at the end of the day, they are beholden to China. Iran would have the capability of being nuclear and not being beholden to anyone. And one thing I like to point out, nuclear armed nations do not have to follow this European rules established through the UN, and that was proven when Putin toppled Crimea. So I kind of like to point out that a nuclear armed nation can do what they want and face less repercussions. And that's kind of just the point I'd like to just add on top of that, that I don't even think Arabic nations in the area publicly, they say we don't want it to happen, but privately, I think they're like, we need this to happen, in my opinion.
So the Arab countries in the region, well, not Qatar, but the rest of them, it seemed like they don't want a war unless it's going to completely top. They don't want to wound the Islamic Republic and let them then act like a wounded animal against them. They want they basically either don't attack, or if you're going to attack, just finish the job. That's the position of most Arab countries around the Persian Gulf. Yeah, so let's go.
All right. Next, I would like to call up Tejal.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Hey, Suzanne, I'm sorry to hear about your friend. I hope that's pretty fucking rough. I hope it works out, for lack of a better thing, for whatever that's worth.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I was gonna say about Greenland. The thing about Greenland is that it is an essential strategic asset. The Chinese and the Russians, excuse me, both the Chinese and the Russians want to lay claim to it, and both of them want to put troops there. And if we don't do something about it, they will, because the Danes don't have the guts or the nuts to stop them. They're just a bunch of spineless Europeans at this point. So we got to take charge and do what we can to acquire it, because we can't let them put troops there. That would be a fucking disaster. So that's why we got to acquire Greenland, whether by buying it or.
Joel, if let's say you save someone from getting raped, do you have the right to rape them because you saved them from getting raped? So you might as well get to rape them. Do you think that's appropriate?
Whoa.
Samantha, I think making a place more safe and prosperous is not the same as raping.
Yeah, I don't think it's the same thing.
His argument basically comes down to, well, you know, if we prevent China and Russia from stealing it, then we should be allowed to steal it.
No. If rape is not stealing, if you make the people there better off and you don't steal their resources, you buy it. That's not stealing, okay? China and Russia will steal. You will basically be negotiating and trading with them. And if, again, usually when people get raped, they're worse off. If you are under America's umbrella, you're better off. So it's a false analogy. Well, then you have to, yeah, but that's a different argument. I think that America has ways to convince them that this is a better idea, but then you're missing the point. I'm saying rape is not a good analogy here.
Yeah, it's really not the same thing. The difference is we're not the CCP and we're not the Russians, and it's vital to our own interest and to our own people that we do not allow the Russians and the Chinese to attain Greenland, because that would be disastrous for us strategically. Having them in our hemisphere like that cannot be allowed. Period. End of story. So we got to do what we got to do. And even if we did have to invade and take it, it would still be better than if Russian and Chinese took it.
You don't have to invade a country to protect it from Russia. You can protect it from Russia without owning it.
Invade is not a invade. No, invade. First of all, is not the right term here, and also, given that it's under the territory of the Europeans, no, Europeans are not in a position to protect Greenland from Russia and the Chinese. But go on, Joe.
No. It's going to come to that. I don't think we're going to have to invade it, acquire it through other means. I think we can purchase it and make it worth their while, and that's what we need to do, and so that we can secure it and thus secure our hemisphere. It's as simple as that. It's just got to be done.
Yeah, European laws are so bureaucratic. Even if they allow Americans to do what they want in Greenland, going through all of that mess, and also not making it certain and making it so that the Europeans could basically change their mind, that doesn't give enough security, and it's not going to be worth America's investment into providing so much military support in something that is not even theirs. So if you want to make it make sense for America, it has to be America's.
Yes. And I think we can buy it and make it worth their while, and I think that's what we should do.
I don't know, man. It sounds like saying, if you want me to protect you from getting raped, have sex with me.
Samantha, I mean, like you keep saying that, and we keep making the counterpoint, but it sounds like you're not listening.
That rhetoric, first off, is just ill in taste, and period. Like, that's not a rhetoric to use about this. It's like we're raping, burning villages and pillaging people. Like,
right.
We're bringing hospitals, we're bringing healthcare, we're bringing education, we're bringing literacy with that. I mean, That does not, that's the complete opposite of raping to me.
Exactly.
So if
I'm
we're,
pretty sure most people in Greenland are
I can
literate,
respect your opinion
and they have better healthcare than you
on
do.
being
You're
against
American.
America using its military muscle to, you know, I can respect that opinion, but to compare it to rape, that's just
It's
crossing
an insult to
line.
it's an insult to rape
insult.
victims. It's an insult to rape victims.
First off, it is, because America punishes soldiers who rape anyone. Period. Like they do hard time in Leavenworth for that. So I do kind of like to point that out. And you know, I can respect the opinion, and I will respect that. I don't think you actually have to worry about America taking over Greenland. I think Trump's just drawing a ideological line against China, and he's telling Europe to pick your side, pick your poison. You can go with China, who, when companies and media companies tried to speak up against Hong Kong and democracy, economically strong-armed them. Or you can go with America, where you can come into our system, protest our own government. You can get Americans to protest our government for you, and we're raping you. That sounds like we're getting raped. We're getting screwed in that deal. Other people can come to our country and say, your country's screwed up. I'm going to protest you, and I'm going to go tell you to go protest your government to help my country. That sounds more like a backwards. Who's getting screwed in that deal? Answer me that question.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, it's not a one-to-one. It's not the same thing. We're trying to secure our interests. We're not interested in oppressing the people of Greenland. We need to get control of it one way or another in order to keep the Russians and the Chinese
from taking it without conquering it.
I think we can make it work well. I think there's a way to do that. That's what I'm saying.
That's good. Let's see what Jeffrey has to say.
So I'm going to jump in since we're playing hypotheticals. All right, Samantha. If the choice is either we conquer Greenland or China, like the Chinese Communist Party or Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state conquers Greenland, would you support us conquering Greenland to defend it against Putin and the Chi-Coms? Since we're playing hypotheticals. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
But that's very reasonable, Samantha. And by the way,
So
a lot of people are enjoying your laughter. They think it's very demonic, and they're enjoying that. So,
I agree.
But
I think it's time to move on.
Could I hop in there for 1 second on Greenland?
Not anyway, so I'm going to pass it off to you, and you can say anything you want.
Go ahead, then.
Someone else
Go ahead,
speaking?
Heidi.
Oh,
No, it's
yeah,
you, it's you.
Samantha. Yeah, it's really a choice, like Jeffrey said, between China and the United States. But it's also, do you want to become a battlefield? And this has happened before. Denmark owned what is now the U.S. Virgin Islands. For 50 years, the United States tried to buy it, saying, look, this is in our region and we're going to have to defend it. And push comes to shove, if you can't defend it, we will. What happened was Denmark said no, and I don't know how the islanders felt about it, but usually when people think that they have leverage, they will use it. Well, what happened was World War I broke out, and then it became a real thing, a real threat that they would end up under Germany. And the United States basically said, okay, make your choice. We either buy it or we invade it, but we're not allowing it to remain as it is. And, you know, if I were an islander living on the Virgin Islands, I'd much rather not become a battlefield in a major global conflagration. And that's really the choice. We're trying to make it now instead of waiting for the war to break out. And then that region becomes the battlefield. And then no one has any choice.
All of Europe. Why stop at Greenland? Why don't we just take over all Europe?
Well, the thing is, Denmark was neutral, which would have meant Denmark would have been dragged into World War I because their territory would have been invaded, and they wanted to remain neutral. And in a strategic location, you're not going to remain neutral. One side or the other is going to take you over. They're not going to respect your border at that point.
Can I bring up a very relevant fact to what you're saying?
Sure.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't realize this, because if you're not a U.S. state, if you're like one of our territories, we actually not only paid you, but we're also providing like free healthcare. And I kind of take offense to that because a lot of Americans want free healthcare and our colonial subjects get it. So just want to add that to it, that it's not a free of charge relationship we have with these territories.
No, you're absolutely correct.
Can I also add something real quick, if you don't mind? A little history
Really
lesson.
quick.
In World War II, when Hitler invaded Denmark, they surrendered to Hitler in a matter of hours. So we basically had to defend Greenland de facto. And we
Exactly.
gave Greenland back. So I don't know if that counts for anything. We also gave the Philippines back.
Well, and I mean, Greenland's just lucky that the kind of weaponry that was available at World War II made Greenland not as important. That same situation is not true today.
All right, so guys, before we move to the next point, I just wanted to add one thing regarding America could defend Greenland even if Greenland was not part of America and just remains part of European Union countries. The privilege that the Europeans think that they have, that America should continue protecting them even though they're not part of America. Like, look at the level of expectation. I mean, the audacity. This is why European countries have turned into leeches of the New World Order instead of being a contributing factor militarily to bringing global security. They're like, oh, we're just going to stand by and America will just come protect us whenever they need to so that we could spend our money on welfare and free healthcare and free education. We don't need to contribute to the military because the Americans will never come and stop defending us. So the idea that China and Russia might come take Greenland and we have the expectation of America to show up and defend us without this being actually American territory, the audacity of that expectation is ridiculous.
I know Europeans who will admit that they are entitled.
Right.
They'll be like, yeah, if we can free ride, if we can be a freeloader, why wouldn't we be a freeloader? I'm like, well, damn, well, then don't get surprised when the gravy train stops and you're caught holding the bag because y'all don't want to put anything into your own defense. Like, you reap what you sow.
Okay, yeah, no, I agree with that. Actually, I agree with that on the level of, where would it hurt the US the least in Europe if Russia invaded? And maybe we should stop helping that group.
And to be fair, I know a lot of Europeans that find it unjustifiable. They're like, yeah, this is wrong. We do need to invest in like, they take accountability for it, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to make it seem like all Europeans like are just freeloaders. Like, a lot of people are taking accountability, but they're like, this is what our elites have led us to, essentially.
So basically, if you think about it, hold on, just one more point. Think about it. Like, Greenland is too close to America for America to make sense defending it. It needs to be part of America instead of another gift to the Europeans with the American taxpayer defending another European territory. So it's too close to America for America not to defend it, but it's also would not make sense for America to defend it unless this is American territory. This is why Greenland needs to be America. But go under. Oh, Aaron, your connection is bad.
I do like to point out about Europe. Oh, sorry, can you hear me?
So your connection is bad now. Okay, go on. Keep it short,
I just got dropped. God dang it.
Okay, I'm going to mute him. Yes, I'm going to mute him. All right. So, Danny?
That's it for Heidi. In that case, I will go on to Francisco.
I wanted to talk about the Iran and USA negotiations. I mean, I will start with that and then I will move to the Greenland thing. But yeah, I think the United States needs to have the moral high ground, and part of the negotiation is to give like almost impossible deal to accept, or let them accept the deal and then attack them when they don't stand by it. Plus, it's a good occasion to get their intelligence to see what happens, who is supporting and with what, and where are the planes coming from and what they're carrying and stuff like that. So it's interesting to see the response from the other adversaries, I think, and also simply to buy time and preparedness. What really, I think, settled my mind is that Al-Udeid base has been partially evacuated. You don't do that generally if you don't intend to strike, right? If you just want to gain leverage, you just put your fleet there and say, okay, I will bomb you to smithereens, right? But the fact that they're preparing for counterattacks, it tells me that there is a bit of intention to strike. I mean, you don't gather so much force just to get a good deal. But the other topic of NATO, leeching, and it's true that a lot of European countries did not meet the percentage quota on NATO, and I'm very glad that we are increasing the defense spending because the world now is a different place than before the invasion of Ukraine. So, I mean, that low expectation was partially due to a relatively peaceful time. And I also would like to remind everybody that the Twin Towers were Americans when they when they fell down. Most of the NATO members helped in the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. And the collective money that the allies spent in that war is more or less what the USA. Of course, it's very hard to do cumulative measures and adding all those contribution, but what the USA spent on Ukraine, more or less, it's on the order of the hundreds of billions of dollars. So, and that's against the some people with the Kalashnikov and sandals is not against Russia, which is a more threatening adversary for the USA. So it is true that the world peace order is based on the strength of the USA, but the world was different before the invasion of Ukraine. And the 2% was reasonable because they didn't have real threats like France, Germany. There would not be any risk of military invasion. In Europe, the three hot places are Greece and Turkey, the Balkans with Serbia. I don't know where the tanks from Hungary will go if against Russia or with Russia. I'm not sure about that. I think I am not settled on that at least. And of course, the border with Russia. That's the hottest part in like a kinetic conflict in Europe, and now the Arctic. So that's what I wanted to say. That there are military cooperation that happened for 20 years and plus. Yeah.
So I just before we move to the next person, I just want to quickly say that I know we're measuring Europe's contribution as a percentage. The problem is that Europe's economy relative to America's economy is shrinking, in the past decade. So even if they maintain a percentage of their GDP, their relative contribution to America is becoming lower every year because America's economy is much bigger than Europeans deciding to become welfare states and this whole net zero, shooting themselves in the foot. But when it comes to all of this environmental nonsense as well, makes them, even if you have a good percentage of their GDP being contributed to their military, still going to be more insignificant because their entire economies are much weaker compared to the growth of the US economy. So we have to also take that into account.
I think Aaron wanted to add something.
Just
Move
kind of
on,
one of the
because
things.
I also have only a few more minutes before
Yeah, so
we
just
stop the
kind of one of the things I
recording
just
and
really
go
quickly
off record.
wanted to add to Europe, and I think a lot of people, like especially Europeans, don't respect it, is they are very resource poor, especially when it comes to modern resources. And what I mean by that is that's like the hard resources, the metal in the ground, and all the technology we use. So when we talk about how big an economy is, just kind of remember what supports that economy. And without hard resources that are extracted, that economy is non-existent. And I have a list of it. I'll add it to the chat when I get stopped here, if we're still going. So you can take a look at it on what Europe lacks natural resource wise, energy, metals, everything. So they got to kind of respect their position that they rely on trade networks in the world to even have an economy.